Hi, in this lesson, we're going to be going over some basic fraction skills that you may have learned in 5th grade or 4th grade and 3rd grade, hopefully learned in one of those grades, that we will be needing in our next chapter, which is multiplying and dividing fractions. So in Classkick, there is a lesson guide where you can take your notes on this. Please make sure that you are taking notes so that you can go back and look at them at another time. If you don't know how to do this on a homework, then I will refer you to these notes. So please pause the video right now and take a moment to find the Classkick Fraction Review Lesson Guide / notes. All right, once you get into the slides, there is a video showing you the different types of fractions. So it's going to go over the mixed numbers, the improper fractions, and one other thing that I can't remember right now. Oh, mixed numbers, proper fractions, and improper fractions, okay? So take a moment when you get into those slides to remember what those 3 types of fractions are in mixed numbers, and fill out the guide of the examples. All right, in this lesson, you will be able to turn mixed numbers into improper fractions and improper fractions into mixed numbers, and you'll be able to simplify fractions. You'll be able to tell the steps of changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. All right, so there are 2 types of fractions. A proper fraction, like the ones shown here. The numerator is smaller. So remember, the numerator is the top number. Okay, and in a proper fraction, we have a smaller numerator, a smaller number on top. While improper fractions have a larger numerator. So if you look at that example, 9/4, that 9 is bigger than the 4. It's top heavy, we might say. The top is too big for the bottom. So when we see a fraction like that, we usually turn it into a mixed number. Okay, and these are mixed fractions, mixed numbers, where you see a whole number and a fraction next to it. Okay, so hopefully that was a little bit of a review. The first thing you'll need to be able to do in this chapter is something that we have practiced before, and that is simplifying. And simplifying means to reduce a fraction to lowest terms. Okay, and that is in your lesson guide in Classkick, so take a moment to write in to reduce a fraction to lowest terms. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can get that definition written in. In the example that we're seeing at the bottom of this page, we have 6/12. Dividing the top and the bottom by 6 to go down to lower numbers. The 1 and the 2 are lower than a 6 and a 12. We're dividing by 6 on the bottom and dividing by 6 on the top. Again, pause the video to fill in that definition for the first one. All right, there are 3 steps to simplify fractions. The first step, you find a common factor of the numerator and the denominator. So if we're looking at a fraction like, let's say 4/12, we would want to find a factor that we can divide from the top and the bottom. And we'll go over these steps more. But I know that they're both even, so I know that I can divide the top and the bottom by 2. And that is the second step. We're going to divide the numerator and the denominator by that number. So when I divide 4 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 2, 4 cut in half or divided by 2 is 2. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. Sometimes that is enough, and that's your answer. But sometimes you need to repeat and divide again. So in this example where I have 2/6, I know that I can simplify that fraction more. I can divide the top and the bottom by 2 again. Okay, and 2 divided by 2, or if I cut 2 in half, I get 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so there's a couple ways that people like to find their factors. If we look at the fraction 24 over 36, one method that you can use is you can list out the factors of each of those numbers. So remember, factors are numbers that go into the numbers. So if I'm looking at 24 and 36, I know that 24 has 1 times 24. So I know those are both factors of 24. And 2 times 12. And 3 times 4. And 6 times 2. 36 has a lot. 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, and 6 times 6. So if I look at all those factors, I'll notice that they both have a 12. So I know I can, and that's the biggest common factor, so I know that I can divide the top and the bottom by 12. So that is one method I can use, listing out the factors, circling the largest common factor. The second method is thinking about your divisibility rules. Okay, this one we haven't gone over divisibility rules much in class. But it's looking for those clues, like, are they both even numbers? Then they can both be divided by 2. Do they end in a 5 or a 0? Well, then I can divide by 5. Do they end in a 0? Then they can be divided by 10. So it's using clues like that to figure out what we can divide by. And in this example, well, I know they're both even. They end in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, so I could divide by 2. And there are some other tricks for knowing if numbers are divisible by 3 or 6 or 4. So you can also use those as a clue to know what to divide by. A really helpful method that you may want to use, especially if you are not great with your facts, is using your multiplication table. So when I'm looking at 24/36, I'm going to find 24s and 36 on this table. Okay, and that is a way that you can find common factors that they have. Looking for where they are in the same row. So I'm looking for a row that has a 24 and a 36. So this row has 24 and 36. This row has a 24 and a 36 in it. Do you see what I'm talking about? So here there's a 24 and here there's a 36. They both are in that row. Here I have a 24 and a 36. So looking for rows that have both of them in. Let's see, the 12 row has a 24 and a 36. The 3, the 2, and I can use this to find out what the biggest number is I can divide by. Well, the biggest one, they both have 12 as a factor. 12 goes into 24 and it goes into 36. So I know that I can divide the top and the bottom by 12. And again, I can use my multiplication chart to help me. So with 24, I have 12 and 2. So I know that 24 divided by 12 is going to be 2. And with 36, I have 12 and 3. So I know that 2/3 is going to be the simplified fraction. Let's look at just one more using the steps that we were just talking about. I think the multiplication chart method is going to be the one that probably works out the best for many of you. So if I look at this example with 12/30ths, I want to look for rows that have a 12 and a 30 in it. Ooh, if I look at this row here, the 6th row, I see a 12 and I see a 30. Is there anything else? Here's another one. In the 3 row, I see a 12 and a 30. Okay. And if the 2 expanded, there would be 1 in the 2 row. So I know that I can divide that fraction by 3 on the top and the bottom, or 6. It will save time if we divide by the bigger one. So I would divide the top and the bottom by 6. And if I use my chart, 6 and 2 make 12. Kind of running out of room here. And on the bottom, 30 divided by 6 is 5. Okay, so that is a way that you can use your multiplication chart. So right now I'd like you to take a moment to go back into your Classkick, the lesson guide and notes. And I want you to try on your own to simplify the 3 fractions on the slide. Please pause it and then come back so that I can go over the answer. All right, hopefully you have tried the problems and you've tried to simplify using a method of your own. We'll try to go over just a couple of the methods right now. So for 4 and h, remember the first method we talked about was listing out the factors. So if I list out factors of 4, I know that 1 times 4 makes 4 and 2 times 2 makes 4. If I list out factors of 8, I know 1 times 8 makes 8 and 2 times 4 makes 8. I see that the greatest common factor or biggest common factor is 4. They both have a 4, so I will divide the top and the bottom by 4. Okay, for the second one, 12 and 42, I'm going to think about my divisibility rules. Well, I know that these are both even numbers because they end in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Even numbers can be cut in half. They can be divided by 2. And I just realized that I forgot to do the first one, so let's finish up that one. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So that's the same thing as 1/2. All right, so in this one that we're working on, we're dividing by 2 and dividing by 2. 12 cut in half would be 6, and 42 cut in half would be 21. Okay, now that is not simplified all the way. If I think about the number 6 and 21 and I think about its factors, there's another number that can go into those two. So for 6, I know that 1 times 6 makes 6, and 2 times 3 makes 6. For 21, I know 1 times 21 makes 21. And 3 times 7 makes 21. So the greatest common factor, they both have a 3. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 3. And I get 2 sevenths. I'm putting that in simpler terms. Okay, and just to quickly go over the last one, they are both even, so I could divide them both in half. You could have divided by 2. You also could have divided by 4. Okay, otherwise divide by 2 and divide by 2 again to get 1/16. All right, I'm going to stop the video there before we go on to the next one. Otherwise, this may get kind of long for people that are looking for help. So once you're finished practicing simplifying, you can move on to the next one, which is improper fractions and mixed numbers.